We're at the North American International Auto Show for 2008, and we're on the Hummer stand, standing in front of the HX. Is that right, the HX?
The HX.
Carl Zipfel of Hummer, you're in charge of exterior design for Hummer.
Correct.
What's your official title?
I'm the exterior director of design for Hummer.
Well, there you go, sort of redundant.
You said it all.
Excellent. Well, tell us about what we're standing in front of right now.
Yeah, we're excited to talk about our new HX concept vehicle. Essentially, this really is a new kind of vehicle for Hummer, for kind of carving out a new niche or new segment. But it's a two-door, four-passenger compact SUV that's really based around extreme off-road capability in open air, the open air and reconfigurability in the rear.
Well, okay, we're at the rear. Let's talk a little bit about that reconfigurability.
Sure.
What are some of the exterior options? What can you do with it?
Yeah, the idea was really to make it versatile so the customer could make this vehicle whatever they needed it to be at any given time. So the idea is it's a three-piece system. You got a big hatch that's now removed, and then you have the side quarter here, and we have the quarter glass out right now, so you have open air. But the idea is this piece could also come off, both sides, so you'd have what we call an SUT, or an open rear cargo area.
Okay.
The rear seats fold down flat, and really have a large open cargo space. You can put anything from surfboards, snowboards, whatever. The vehicle is really designed to be youthful, adventurous, and fun. So this is a key enabler to kind of getting that lifestyle idea across.
Looking at this angle, it looks like headroom might be a little tight. Is there an option for a more vertical style rear hatch?
Yeah, that's a big part of this whole reconfigurable rear, is that you could have a multitude of configurations. This is what we call a slant back.
Okay.
And actually there is head clearance. When you have the hatch in, the head does clear, but we have what we call a higher cargo capacity rear, which would be a wagon back. And then, like I mentioned, you could take the side struts off here and have an open cargo area like a small truck bed.
I was noticing on the fenders here, these fasteners. Tell us about these. These are important.
Yeah, those are called Zeus Fasteners. They're similar to what hold race car body panels on, and the reason we decided to do this is really a form follows function kind of thing. If in the event that you're off-road and damage the flare, either brushing it against a tree or leaning over too far and hit a rock, you could get out and without any tools, in a matter of seconds, take the damaged part off, throw it in the back, and keep moving on with your adventure.
Okay, so this looks new and extreme, but it's still very much a Hummer. What are some of the key Hummer styling details that are still present on the HX?
Yeah, well, certainly we start up front with our 7-port.
Let's move up front. Let's go. Let's walk around. This is the famous 7-bar Hummer grill.
Yeah.
So this is still here. Tell us what's happening in the front end.
Yeah, sure. Certainly, we always go to our 7-port grill to start with, but obviously looking for a bandwidth within it. There's always room to evolve it and continually develop the theme of the 7-port. So this is the latest expression of a 7-port grill. You see more of an undercut above the bars. They kind of make the bars more like a teeth, if you will. And then you see kind of a triangulated shaped grill on the header of the grill. And that really all kind of evolves the look of the front end, but still very recognizable as Hummer, with the Hummer letters obviously on the bars.
And the Hummer's design heritage comes from the original Humvee military vehicle. So I noticed that you still have the military style hooks there.
Yeah.
So I guess you could pull the vehicle out if it's trying to make its way up some ridiculous terrain or something like that.
That's exactly, yeah. We call them D-rings or recovery rings, and they're really a necessary part of the off-road capability that we build into each of our vehicles. So yeah, that's exactly what it is to use to pull yourself out if you get in a precarious situation.
Integrated tow hook, I'm assuming?
This is an integrated full winch.
Oh, winch.
So there's a winch behind the fascia there, so you can pull people out or pull yourself out.
Cool, let's move around. Oh, by the way, these are LEDs?
Yeah, all the lighting technology on this vehicle is LED, kind of the latest technology out there available. And it also gives the designer a very much smaller package, if you will. It takes less depth going into critical areas to put these kind of lamps in the vehicle.
By the way, I was noticing a lot of people, when they think of Hummer, they think big. They think of a large, imposing vehicle. But looking at this is actually a fairly compact version of what Hummer can be. Talk about the dimensions.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's sitting on a 103-inch wheelbase. It's 171 inches overall length.
Yeah.
So essentially, in terms of the wheelbase, it's a full 9 inches shorter than our H3.
Really?
And obviously our H3 is much smaller than our H2. So this continues to grow the Hummer portfolio down, if you will, in size. And obviously, it's a compact two-door, four-passenger SUV.
And what about stance as far as ground clearance? Obviously, ground clearance is important to a brand like Hummer, where off-road is so essential. I noticed you've got very, very short front and rear overhangs. That's important, right?
Oh, it's hugely important. Yeah, we keep the overhang dimensions very short, and then on all Hummers, you'll notice we keep nothing in front of the front tires, and that's really to make an unobstructed approach to the front tire, and that lets Hummers crawl over logs, rocks. It really is one of the key enablers to the off-road capability in the front end.
Do you have a number on that? Because I can't think of a less overhang in a vehicle that I've seen. I mean, that's a pretty incredible number.
Well, what you do is you measure the angle from the bottom of the tire where it meets the ground up to the first point that it hits, and we're at a 56-degree approach angle.
Wow.
And just to give you some background, an H1 is 60, and that's really comes from the military spec, so that's very incredible. And our own H2 is at about 55, so we're right there, H2 or better, and it's very aggressive. That's an excellent number.
What are you thinking as far as customers? Who are you trying to appeal to with the HX?
Oh, definitely a youthful, youthful, free, adventurous kind of person. That's really what this vehicle is all about. With the from the open air and reconfigurability to the off-road capability, it's all about the adventure.
Last question, what are the odds that we might see something like this in production?
Based on the reaction today, I think pretty good. I mean, it obviously is just a concept vehicle right now, but certainly we wait to get down to the show and kind of gauge the momentum or the buzz about the vehicle, and from there there'll probably be a number of meetings fairly soon to understand how fast we can get this into production.
We're at the North American International Auto Show 2008 show at the Hummer stand, and we're standing in front of the Hummer HX. We've seen the exterior. The exterior is pretty impressive, but the interior has plenty of tricks on its own. I'm standing with Stuart Norris, in charge of the interior design here. Tell us, what should we look for? What's special about the interior of the HX?
Well, really what we've tried to explore on this concept is really how to define a new Hummer interior design language through functionality.
Okay.
So we've got a whole suite of functional items that we've really formed the backbone for the interior design, and I can take you through some of those features right now.
Please do.
Well, one of the really cool features we've got in the back here is a nice seat setup in here. It's a compact vehicle, but we've got a reusability factor in the back end of this. So what we've got here is a fold down, fold flat rear end on the vehicle. So both of these seats fold back for a real nice factor here, where we're able to convert the rear end almost into a kind of mini truck. Really a really usable and reconfigurable area in the back here.
Now, I noticed the materials are distinct. Describe the inspiration for the materials here. Kind of camouflage?
Yeah, we were kind of really looking at the one of the elements of the Hummer brand is really the kind of outdoorsman, and we saw the camouflage as being a kind of iconic image when it comes to the outdoorsman type thing. So what we did was, okay, let's take that and let's really modernize that. So we've given it this kind of digital effect, and this is a grain that we use throughout the interior. It runs up on the rubber floor all the way up to the front. And it's a very distinctive feature and works beautifully with some of our other interior accents.
A lot of metal, but one piece of metal that really jumped out to me, over there in the corner, that round knob, is that an adjustment for the suspension?
Correct. Yeah, that's how you the rebound adjust on the struts, and we're able to those are replicated on the underhood, and that again is a really strong feature of the interior design there at the rear end of the car.
Let's go ahead and move forward towards the front seats and see what's worth looking at up here. All right.
Excuse me.
Very thin seat design. Okay. Now this is kind of interesting. A lot of metal and interesting material here as well. But so what stands out? What should we notice?
Well, again, the whole front end of the vehicle is really defined by a sense of functionality, and really making the structure of the vehicle a design feature. Instead of covering the structure up with a bunch of superfluous plastic, we've really tried to make all these structural elements a real design feature for the interior. The center console is pure iconography for Hummer. The really wide format here. This is as wide as an H2, but it's in a vehicle the size of the HX. Again, very, very strong, really supports the IP, and then we've got a whole bunch of cool features in here. The theatre of starting the vehicle up. This is a little safety latch, We have an engine start button in through here, and then the shifter
will launch me out of my seat, right?
Launch you onto so many adventures.
That's
our launch we're talking about. This is the shifter, yeah, and we've really tried to, between the steering wheel and the shifter, all the primary controls that the customer would be interfacing with all the time, we've really tried to get this common feel between it with this cool rubber overmold on the steering wheel on the shifter.
Interesting, you've got a very rugged look happening, but there's also some high-tech details. Talk a little bit about what's happening up here on the screens.
Sure. Well, I think, you look at many utilitarian vehicles now, particularly in the aeronautical business, and reconfigurable displays, high-tech displays are really where the business is going. So what we took advantage here was to have a big screen strategy going on the center stack here. And there's an interesting way that this works. This is the startup sequence, and then this is an on-road mode. So if you're in the high gear ratios, we've got a navigation system here. You've got your comfort features, your iPod. These are some diagnostics to make sure, tell you what your fuel economy is like and so on.
Kind of a Terminator vibe happening here.
It's kind of got a nice high-tech, techie feel to it. And then if you were to notch the vehicle into 4 low when you were off-roading, the screens change. We've got here, instead of the navigation, we have a compass. Here, this is the camera mounted up into the rear view mirror, and on the far side would be an inclinometer to give you lots of data and information about what the car's doing.
One of the things I've noticed, obviously the design of the interior is important, but for being out in the elements, access to the outside is important too. I've noticed that the roof design here is very, very open. There's a very open feel.
Right, and that's one of the key characteristics of the HX concept is this exposure to the elements and so on. So the doors are removable, the upper is removable, and the rear quarters are removable. And it's really about allowing the driver to interact with nature and really be involved with their adventures and so on.
Well, Stuart Norris, this is a really cool car. I hope to see something like this in production at some point.
We're very proud of it.
Fingers crossed, perhaps?
We would love to see this influence our future products.
Well, I think quite a few people would. We'll stay tuned to KBB for more coverage of the North American International Auto Show.